like I've said it multiple times, it's like releasing wolves back into Yellowstone Park. Anytime that you have a ban or an unban, you release capabilities to the other very lethal threats. And that's something that I think we want to talk about today is bans and unbans aren't necessarily a bad thing. Yes, people lose money, but seeing the last bans of Dockside and Nadu, for example, I'm like, cool, now we can do other things.
Welcome back to Midweek Bennett, guys. I'm your host, Maddie, and welcome back to our lovely co-host, Chris. I missed you last week.
Yeah, you did a great job. I really appreciate you doing that. I was in Chicago with some family, so I really appreciate you stepping up to the plate for that.
And timing's lined up. We actually have what we were going to use our backup play over here. We got Nate over here. Anyway, no, Nate, say hi, guys.
Always good to be here. Been doing some stuff at home, so I haven't been quite on the channel as much, but I'm working it out. It's all good.
No, really, we just keep him in the closet. He brews for us. Brew us something. Brew us. But no, speaking of brewing, anything crazy going on, Nate?
As far as brewing goes, I've been on a weird monocolor kick. I have no idea why. Currently right now, and spoiler, there might be a gameplay on it. Does it do a lot? No, but that's not the point. I'm playing a Geralf deck. It's just a mono blue like storm list. It's very strange, but it's very fun. It's interesting. Is it good? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's like viable for like a tournament or anything, but it's just fun to play. And then secondly, I have an Azure list that I've been tinkering with for a while. And initially it was like mono red like stacks burn, but now it's more of like it has still those stacks burns, but it's also like a stormy kind of cast on creatures do damage thing. I'm working on it still, and I'm still trying to make Ral better too, but other than that right now I think that's pretty much all I've been brewing. I might brew Shalai and Halar. I've been looking at another Nihilist.
Okay, cool, nice. Chris, how you doing? What about you? What's new with you?
Not too much. A lot of editing, trying to get some stuff out to the viewers out there. Really enjoying being able to be a creative mind. So some things coming down the pipe, hopefully soon, that will rock your socks out. So that been reducing playing Magic a little bit more than recently, but we were able to make some content. So we should have some more videos out, and really enjoyed just chilling with everybody, including Jay. Shout out to him. For just doing a couple games that were just really chill, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So yeah,
no, absolutely. Those games, those are well, you'll see it hopefully soon on the channel. Yes, but it was great.
What about you, man? I mean, you're asking us all these questions. What new brews are you coming up with right now, man?
So I kind of put a little bit of lock on the Bruin mentality. Like I've got 4 decks I got like kind of locked in. I got TNT. I tried and true right now. Everyone, it knows what it does, and I've got some weird cards in there, some spice. But another deck that near and dear to my heart. It's how me and Chris met. It's our love-hate child. It's my Abzan deck. My list though runs the Spice of Lurking Predator. We've talked about it before. I'm trying to find a way to get that thing to work clearly, but it's a 6 mana enchantment. It doesn't work easy. But then I've also got Captain America. Love that guy. It's America, man. It's right there. You can't say no to that. I gotta find a good proxy artist on that one. Maybe get a Chris Evans proxy on there real quick. But other than that, that's kind of what I've got. And then I got Rocco. Rocco's locked in. I know what I'm doing on that deck. I saw the spice, like shared that. But I have to be honest, I'm kinda on a tiptoe right now because of what happened on Monday. How are you guys feeling? I know it's not our formats, but the ban and restrictions, how are you guys feeling?
It's been interesting to see how people have reacted to it. For me, again, just like any format when it comes to me, like for instance for Commander, when our bans happened, people that are really into it and know what they're doing, they just shift. They go, oh, what about that one thing that we used to play? Because I've already been seeing a lot about like Lantern Control coming back.
Ew.
And for those that don't know what Lantern Control is, look it up. Because it's a list that wasn't really a thing that you could do, and now all of a sudden you can. Not only in people just shifting into new things, but obviously the market values go crazy when these things happen.
So ban restriction abstinence December 16th. I wish it was the next day because I've been like a birthday present, but whatever. Standard, no changes. There's still nothing's good. Everything will keep playing on. Pioneer, Giganta, the Wellspring is banned. Then here's the big ones. Modern, the One Ring is banned. Amped, Raptor is banned. Gigantha, the Wellspring is banned. Fun part, Mox Opal is unbanned. Green Sun Zenith, unbanned. Faithless Looting, unbanned. And the last but no least, Splinter Twin is unbanned. And then Legacy, Psychic Frog, which thank you, I want to buy a couple other versions because I like it. It's a fun Dimir card. Is banned in Legacy, also with Vexing Bauble and being banned. Vintage, Alchemy, no changes. Giganta is banned in Explorer, which is Arena's, I think, version of Pioneer. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I'm not. Which, side note, there might be some Arena content coming. Then Historic, Timeless Brawl, no changes, and effectively it went to December 16th. But like again, kind of sad part, we didn't see anything Commander related, but I think it's cool to see that all the bannings here are going to actually affect us in a way. You talk about releasing the wolves and banning and banning and then unbanning, which is a great. We're going to jump into that, but in your opinion, both of you, I'd like to talk about that real quick. Do you think if they ban something should also be unbanned?
I like it because once again, you're shaking up the format a lot more. If all they did was ban the One Ring, like okay, cool, you still have some of the other decks, but being able to then revitalize by unbanning some things. In this unban, they unbanned some really powerful cards. I think in Commander, if they happen to unban some stuff, there's at least 6 cards that are currently on the ban list. I'm like, why are these even on the ban list? Like, they just shouldn't be on the ban list at all. Would they really shake with the format? Not necessarily. But that's my thought process. Is there's some things on the Commander ban list I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me why they even are.
Makes sense, totally. What about you, Nate? What are you feeling?
I'm kind of on the same page as you, Maddie. I think that things can be banned and then it could be just left as it is. Because a lot of the time, people just adjust. People just figure out what's the next best thing. And that will always be the same, right? That will always be the way that we are as Magic players. What is the next thing that's going to dominate? Now, I also agree with Chris in the sense that when you do unban things, you are releasing a lot of, competition. And that's great, right? You love to see diversity. Because if there's one amazing deck that does the amazing thing all the time, then everyone plays it, and then it's boring. Then then it feels dead. It feels like a dead format, right? I think it is important to watch these like power level of cards and to take things into account. I'm sure it is a nightmare to try to think these things through when you're banning and unbanning things, but in a sense, I feel strongly that if you think that something should be banned, ban it. Don't worry about unbanning things unless things come down the pipeline later and maybe you feel like you need to unban them.
That's fair. I totally get that. And that's a great way to look at it. But I want to kind of go back to where Chris said a little bit here. He kind of nailed it right here. You got to... This happening to these other formats is definitely a shakeup, but we look at our own format and we kind of give ourselves some homework. And we have an idea of a couple cards that we think should be banned and a couple cards that I think should be unbanned. Well, let's jump with the first one, an easy one. Let's talk about some unbanning cards. I'll make an easy one that we all know should be unbanned. Coalition Victory. That one's an easy one. It is so easy to get the 5 colors, but you also have a card called Happily Ever After, which does the exact same thing. That one's an easy one. We all agree that one should be unbanned. Give me a card. We'll go to you. We'll jump to Chris. Jump to me. But we'll talk about each card real quick. So give me a quick card that you believe should be unbanned.
I mean, obviously you brought up Coalition Victory, and I don't know if we should just go into depth on that now. But quite frankly, I think everyone just... I feel like most of the Commander community just agrees that none of us really understand at this point why it's there. Maybe something's busted that maybe I don't see or I can't find when it comes to Coalition Victory. But if it's so much mana to have it down and then it has to get back to your turn, it's a whole thing. So as far as Coalition Victory, I think everyone just agrees on that. But going down just in alphabetical order, for ease of convenience, I've always been in this weird spot with Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn.
Okay.
I can understand why in some formats that this guy is banned. He's very strong. He can't be countered. He has protection from essentially everything, right? And he's got a massive Annihilator. But in Commander, I just feel like there's even stronger things than this nowadays. And things that also can just destroy board states, right? Because everyone loves these kinds of effects. Everyone loves Eldrazi, let's be fair. He doesn't get a reduction like other Eldrazi either, right? It's like you have to cast this sucker to get like the extra turn that he offers for 15 mana. Right? Yeah, sure. You have, lesser effects and colorless is easy to make, but I don't know. This one's one that I've always had a weird, I feel like it should be unbanned, but maybe I'm missing something kind of effect. I don't know.
I've got it pulled up real quick. I was gonna read why they banned it, so everyone's kind of
Sure,
was their idea and under process. Emrakul's collection of game warping abilities come at a high cost, but have a tendency to efficiently win games without explicitly ending them. Emrakul was banned due to overwhelming outcry from the community, who told us that ramping quickly into this was one of the most common and least interesting ways to win. As an amazing colorless finisher, it was too tempting for too many decks. Which, I hate to say it, isn't that the same description of the One Ring?
Right. Yeah, and the thing is even if we were playing this in CDH, we would find ways to break it, right?
Yeah,
For instance, the Zuladoc deck that's out there, right? Could make infinite colors mana, and then you do Cloudstone Curio loops with this sucker, you take infinite turns, right? Like, there are obviously ways to bust him, and I do understand that when he has protection from colored spells, things get a little complicated as far as removing him, but I've always been on this kind of back and forth train where it's like, maybe he should just stay banned because at this point, who cares? And the other side of me goes, just try him out for a little while and see if he's really that oppressive.
But as we kind of wrap that one up, Chris, what do you got for us? What's one card you wish was unbanned?
This one seems on its nose pretty easy to unban. Once again, in CEDH, but not in EDH. We are a collective whole. EDH and CEDH players. We really can't separate each other until we have like a bracket system at some point in time. But the card I want to talk about is Limited Resources. It's 1 white enchantment. When Limited Resources comes into play, each player chooses 5 lands he or she controls and sacrifices the rest. As long as there's 10 or more lands in play, players can't play lands. So in an EDH format, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, this doesn't feel great. As long as there's 10 or more lands in play, players can't cast lands. In EDH, people rely on their lands considerably. I mean, we looked over it with our green episode where people are ramping into, and there's, I guess at that point in time, you can technically cheat lands into play without playing them. That's one way to, I suppose, get around it. But really, in CEDH, we kind of win on like 2 to 3 lands and a bunch of artifacts or dorks. So like in a CEDH, like, yes, it feels kind of bad. Playing it late, it doesn't really do all that much unless you have like this plus like a Stony Silence. Yeah, Stony Silence and Limited Resources. Okay, cool. Now people are reduced on I can see how it would make a non-game, and it's okay, cool. Reset the game at that point in time. Like, cool, you can't do anything, you can't do anything, you can't do anything. Cool, let's restart the game, essentially.
Out in the EU, they do resets during tournaments. So sometimes, like, when we get to a point where everyone's like a draw, they're like, okay, reset, and you restart the game. And it's just kind of a weird concept, but it's just something cool to interject because it's something to look at too. Maybe we bring that from the EU over here, where we're like, oh, get that European trash out of here. We're America. We don't reset. We draw. But you know how it goes. But no, Limited Resources is definitely. I hate to say it, I'd play it. I would play the crap out of that card if it was unbanned. But you understand. You hit note on the head. Us CDH players, 100%. We understand that's how we play. I got to pull it up again real quick, just so in between, Nate, we'll get your opinion real quick, Nate. But limited resource is probably the easiest card on the ban list to justify. It does not scale with the number of players, so early as turn 2, it effectively reads, players can't play any more lands and a 1 mana enchantment. And Chris nailed it right there. Normal EDH players, yeah, they would abuse that. Us CDH players, we would use it to lock out, because I hate to say it, green's ramping like crazy right now in our format. So, but what's your thoughts, Nate? What's limited resources? What's your...
I mean, I agree with everything that Chris said, honestly, because if you asked us if that would bother us, chances are it wouldn't. It would just be a solid stacks piece for like nihilists, right? Because they would play their more of their mana dorks, and now all of a sudden the player across from you can't play any more lands. Sorry, there's already 10 on the field, but don't worry, I'm just gonna put out this next dork and this next dork, and I'm gonna play
Elevere.
Cryptolith. Yeah, play Elevere.
It would be amazing in
Cryptolith,
Elevere. Yeah.
Right, crop rotation into your Sarah Sanctum because you're getting rid of a land and put another land in, right? There's ways we could manipulate it. There's ways we could break it. However, when it comes to, obviously, these bans and stuff, typically CDH players are not the reason that cards get banned. It is EDH players. And I 1,000% understand that in an EDH game, that card is horrible.
I got two that are going to be very questionable. I'm going to save the second one for a little bit later, but Gifts Ungiven. I believe that card should be unbanned. We have Intuition. What's the difference?
I do completely agree with you because I in a sense, right? Because you're 100% right? Intuition is grabbing you 3 cards, Gifts Ungiven is grabbing you 4, but 1 is an extra mana in order to do it, right? Yeah. So there is sort of a balance between that, but that one's tough for me. That one's tough for me because it's the fact that you get 2 in hand, 2 in yard, right? So say you have multiple counter spells in hand and you just need 2 reanimate effects and 2 creatures or whatever, or a discard outlet in this, and then also another reanimate and then a counter spell, or right. I think there's too many cards with that extra card that actually sets you up too well. It's really strange because I had to sit and think on that too. Not too long ago, because I thought to myself, okay, well, why don't we just either A, unban Gifts Ungiven, or B, ban Intuition, so that way we can just stop with this whole thing in general.
No, 100%.
But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
It looks like Chris got a good thoughts. I want to hear it from you, man.
Yeah, please.
So I played a lot of Storm back in the day with Gifts Ungiven. It's a fantastic card. You have to target, so you know if you get hexproof, that kind of thing, it goes away. It's only 1 more mana. Sometimes you can go get 4 lands. Cool, I'm flooding out. I'm going to go get 2 lands, and the other 2 go to the bin. You guys, you tell me which ones go to hand. You can essentially only pick 2, and both those go to the graveyard, and then you could reanimate if you have it in hand. Really, if you were to reanimate, you have 3 different reanimate effects plus a creature. Cool, they give you a creature plus reanimate. Now what? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't... It can do a lot of really good things, but, like, we have Intuition. It's just Intuition for 1 more mana, and I get you get 2 cards, but Thassa's Oracle plus Demonic, and the biggest thing is your opponents get to choose, and the other 2 go to the grave.
I was very much on Nate's side where I was like, no, don't unban it, but why can't I play this when it's literally 1 mana more? It's not like it's too game breaking, but I get why it is, but I'm also gonna read why so everyone's aware. Gift Slow Blue Investment makes it splashable, and the instant speed means you can use it at the most opportune times and lower chance for countering or interaction. The ability to tutor for 2 card combo pieces in 2 ways to career them generally makes this a 1 card ender, and even the most casual plays is a double tutor. Which I hate to say this, I get where they're coming from because they have the casual mindset, and that's one thing we're have to take in mind. We as CDH players can definitely look differently. We talked about limited resources. The prime example of this. This is another one. Us CDH players, we understand what it is. It's a double tutor, but it can be give me both counter spells so I can save us against both of this other guys. We know he has 2 counters. We know he has double interaction. We know he has, you know what I mean? And we've talked about that. That's definitely a good
politics.
Way to, yeah, definitely to politic. Okay, let's flip this real quick. Chris, what's a card you wish you could ban in Commander right now?
We've heard it a million times. I'm just gonna hit it right on the head. Okay, I'm first out of the gates. Thassa's Oracle.
Oh, I thought it was
Thassa's
Island.
Oracle. Nope. Thassa's Oracle. Island would be great too, I suppose, but no. Thought you go snow covered island at that point in time. You're good to go, right?
Oh yeah.
You got to ban them both. You're gonna ban one of them. No, Thassa's Oracle. I think makes winning. I said it in the past where having the Thassa's Oracle and just that someone needs to respect a very quick, easy win line is important because we do play a higher cards in our format. But Thassa's Oracle is definitely an easy, cool blue-black. Play, do your thing, win the game. I want to see diversity. I enjoy the bans that happened recently. Green's kind of sprouted out and actually potentially, maybe the third best color in Magic right now for CEDH. But Thassa's Oracle, once again, is just so easy to win with. I would love to get rid of it if I could. The biggest thing is you can't interact with it as easy as, say, there's the Jace and then the Laboratory Maniac. Cool. In response, kill it. You know what I mean? So I would much rather have those two where you have a permanent that if you kill it in response, like, okay, cool. It's just too easy to win.
On Jace and Lab, they both require you to be in that concept of drawing. So if you remove them, you lose. Because you in Magic, if you draw from empty library, you lose. Where Thassa's is like, oh, you kill me, my stack thing's on my effects on the stack. If your devotion's still 0, deck's still 0, you win. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. I can't really stop that unless I run endurance. Oh, I'm in Grixis. But Nate, you wanted to say something too, though. So
I thought about this for a while. This is actually a question I've been asked before, and it's a tough question to answer because obviously there are a lot of powerful cards, and I do think that for those that don't aren't really aware of our format, and maybe you're watching us for the first, not first. This is your first episode, but you'll see Thassa's Oracle played out. You'll watch our gameplays, and you'll be like, "Oh, that's so boring." We think it's boring too. We don't. Crazy thought. We think it's boring too. Trust me, it is not exciting for us. That's why some players just choose not to play Dimir. Because they think it's boring. And I totally get that. I am 100% on board with that. I understand that completely.
Boring wins games, though, sometimes. You know what I mean?
It does.
And sometimes you got to play the most efficient thing in the most efficient format.
Exactly.
Are you playing Magda and Cannon over there, Chris? I don't want to hear it. It's just,
yeah,
it's just,
not even.
It's
no
just,
Thassa's Oracle. I'm a blue farm. I'm a Grixis player. I love that color pie. But
Same.
once again, what else are you supposed to do besides Thassa's Oracle and a couple other random win lines? It's pretty easy.
You say our format, we hate it too. How many games I've been in? Oh, you Thassa's cool. Next game, we even say that as CDH players. And I think that's hilarious. That we're like, all right, next game. We don't care.
Right. But here's the thing. If I was to ban something in Commander or in CEDH, if CEDH had its own list of cards, right? The ones that I would hit, it would end up hitting a slew of cards, but I think it would be almost beneficial to our format.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think partners should be a thing. I despise partners.
Are you saying partners as Commander or partners in
So I don't mind the partner with.
Okay.
I don't like Pier and Toothy.
Or the
Paco
Stranger
and
Kids
Halden.
things. The Stranger Things.
Sure.
Friends forever.
Yeah.
Sure. Ukima and Kazur, right? Partner with. They can't be, but these universal Tim, I don't mean to bash on your Tim no Kodama. I think it's really, really cool. But to be Tim no Kodama. Well, I don't like that this week. I'll go Tim to Crom. Oh, this week I don't like that. I'll go Tim to Thrasios. Oh, this week I'll go Crom Tevish. Oh, this week I'll go Tevish. It's, I feel like there's just too much to work with when you have two commanders in the command zone. And it makes things, I don't know, it just really bothers me. It's kind of always bothered me, to be honest. Okay. Which is why typically, I don't know how many times you guys have seen me play partners, but it's usually only partner with. I don't typically play the actual partners themselves.
No, absolutely. And I also want to kind of make sure I'm getting clarification mentally so I understand. You would be, because I guess if we got rid of the partner, it would be gone, because you could run Timna the Weaver, but she would be just Timna the Weaver.
It would just be Tymna,
Or
you'd be playing Orzhov.
you could put Tymna in your deck, but it wouldn't partner with anybody else.
Sure.
So it would just say, hey, if this creature or if you deal damage, but you know what I mean. I just want to make sure mentally I'm understanding. You want to get rid of Tymna Kadama pairing is gone.
You want a Errata partner.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
You never wanted to just be partner. You want to be partner with or friends forever.
If it was like Tymna specifically had to pair with Crom, for instance, right? I don't love it, but fine.
What about the Doctor Who guy? What about Doctor Who?
Yeah. So what about that? Yeah. Are you okay with that? Like the companion mixing, where it's Doctor plus companion.
Well, it's not a partner. It's a companion. So I think you're okay with it, right?
I mean, to be fair, yes, because
I
think there's just too much.
New challenge. I'll be on Doctor Who decking and piss you off with it now. Here I go.
Sure, that's totally fine. I just think that because that's the thing. Once they made those partners, to be fair, like Wizards already said they made a mistake when they made those partners, right? So every other partner thing that's happened since then or after that has been pretty toned down.
Yeah, it's like we got Francisco in Ixalan.
Right.
Where it was he was the first
strong.
Yeah, he's super strong. Like there's like the sushi decks that you can do with the Thrasios Francisco. So it's Sultai. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. I actually, even with my deck, I agree with you. Like partner, it's cool because it gives us different color partner like pairings.
Sure.
But the way they did it with the D&D set, they've done it with Stranger Things, where you can get the colors. I think that's the better way, where it has to be specifically Clue Farm. But Chris, what about your thoughts? Do you think partner should have been a thing, or?
Nate, you stole it because that was my number one thing that I think should be removed from EDH and CDH. You're 100% correct. I mean, 4 color commanders, I would love to see come back with the 4 different pips. Being able to play a 2 mana and then a 3 mana commander is just broken entirely. You basically have extra cards in hand. It's busted. It's absolutely busted. There's really nothing else to say about it besides it's broken. And I don't know about the different statistics, but I would guess a partner commander is in the top 10 consistently, if not 1 to 3 different commander in the top 10.
Well, I think that's something kind of cool to watch the brewing happen from Wizards, that they're trying to make these more not more powerful, but more utility synergistic 3-color commander, or occasionally we get that 5-color that's I like Jensen. I don't know why I was doing something. I was looking at 5 colors, but Jensen from Dominator United, where it was the 2 colors to get him out, but he gave you the tap for 5, and if you played multicolor spells, he did things. So it's a really cool concept. We don't play that in CDH. We did Jensen for cheap Underworld Breach lines. But no, I agree. I guess we're all agreed on that one. As sad as it would be to lose half of my decks right now, I'd be okay with it. So,
well, I mean, I get it, right? And I think most people in the CDH community. Well, I won't say most. I won't generalize. At least everyone that I talk with in the CEDH community, like personally and on Discords and things, everyone agrees with that fact. That partners just kind of are just this busted thing that is a necessary evil right now because there's nothing we can do about it.
Okay.
Right? And it's not that I love Clark Sakashima. Come on. I love that is probably the only partner pairing that I play.
I forget that that's not a partner with pairing.
It's not, but it's just everyone just knows it as Krakashima because that's the standard pairing.
Yeah.
But like, as much as I would hate to lose that deck, I would be much happier if partners were gone. But
no, absolutely, again, I get that.
Don't mean to continue to harp on that.
No, and it's something that I'm glad you got that a little bit. I got one that might be a little bit more. I got 2 here. I got one I want to talk about. It's gonna be a little bit faster to talk about. But Gaia's Cradle. We'll talk about that. We'll start with that. I believe Gaia's Cradle should be banned. If you're gonna ban Tolarian's Academy, you need to ban Gaia's Cradle at the same time. It used to be that you could break artifacts. It was easy to do untapping, shenanigans, and all that. Well, we do the same thing with creatures, isn't it? Like, how often do you watch someone that runs a Gaia Cradle dump out 16 creatures or 16 tokens somehow? Or we don't really see it in CDH as often, and Gaia's Cradle's kind of put itself like on its own budgetly ban list because you don't see it in casual decks. You don't see it casually, but in our format, it's the same. Well, I hate to say it, you play Tameshi. How awesome would it be if you could run Tolone Academy? Like
Oh, it'd be sick.
it'd
But
be
thankfully, I could run Sarah Sanctum now, so
well. You can run
I have
Sarah.
something to work with.
You got something to work with, but it just that's just a quick one, but a quick your guys' opinion. What's your thoughts on that, real fast, Nate?
Whew, that's a tough one. Honestly, that's a tough one because there is a side of me that does agree with you. Because I know it's not always their main reasoning for banning a card, but I know that there have been some bannings that have cited that it is not easy to obtain. Like, it is limited quantity, it's expensive, and Gaia's Cradle is one of those. 1,000% Gaia's Cradle is one of those. It gets put into that category of not many people own an actual Gaia's Cradle. Not many people can get a hold of an actual Gaia's Cradle, let alone afford it, even if they found it, right? So on that level, I do kind of agree that it should just be banned. It is kind of tough to say that it's on the same level as Tolarian Academy. Just because, I mean, obviously Partners helps pump out a Gaia's Cradle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rograk, Thracios, and I already have 2 mana, right? So there are obviously ways to break Gaia's Cradle, especially now because people have been leaning into green more after our bans happened. But man, that's tough. I'm on the fence on that one because I do agree to some extent for availability and pricing, it should be banned. And it is a very, very powerful card. And I do agree with you that like creatures can come out like crazy. But it's also one of those things that creatures get nuked a lot easier than artifacts and enchantments. They can be destroyed a lot easier. Most removal has creature stapled to it somewhere. Not all, obviously. But so yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know if I'd fully agree and say that I would ban it.
Okay.
Personally.
What about you, Chris? What are you thinking? You've had some weird facial expressions I've been watching. What do you got here?
2 different trains of thought. The comparison between Tolarian Academy and Gaia's Cradle is a little bit off. So you're not going to be playing Ornithopter just to turn on Gaia's Cradle, right? Like most of your bodies outside of like going tokens, okay, cool. Most of them you have to pay at least 1 mana. With artifacts, you're able to play a bunch of 0 drops. Urza, for example. Urza plays an absolute buttload of 0s in that deck as is. If you were to put that in there, the thing would just make so much mana, it would be insane. You'd be locked out really, really, really quick. So that's the comparison. I'm like, Tolarian, yes, unban it, but then you'd ban it quick enough again. It's just easy enough to cast a bunch of different 0s. Now I have 8 mana, turn 1. Let's go. Maybe not 8 mana, turn 1, but you get the idea. Gaia's Cradle, I think, is an interesting, good ban. And the reason why is because if you were to like ban Thassa's Oracle or Underworld Breach, what are the decks that are going to rise to the top? Cannon's going to be 1. Are you really going to ban Basalt Monolith? Probably not. You're not going to neuter him like that, but you want to slow him down in different ways. Cool. The other deck that would rise to the top as well would also be Sisay. One way that it makes infinite mana, we all know the different line, Derevi, and you flicker it a bunch of different times with Emil. It makes a bunch of green mana that way. Tyam is a deck that's seen a lot of play right now. If you were to get rid of that, it would be pretty difficult to make infinite mana as easy as it is right. Maybe not as easy, but another capability. So if you were to ban, Thassa's Oracle and all these other different win lines, all these other decks would just be unaffected entirely. So that's why if you were to ban Thassa's Oracle and Underworld Breach, which, hey, those are on the chopping block in my mind, Gaia's Cradle seems like a reasonable way to slow down the other decks that are going to rise to the top as well and trying to make some kind of even line for, once again, the Wolves to come back into Yellowstone.
There you go. I like that. That gives you both arguments there, and I hate to say it, you're very true on it, the creature mindset, and I still I agree with the financially, it should be banned if you're gonna ban some things financially, but that's a little bit on the point. But you make a good point on the whole 0 drops now make a 0 of 1 land becomes 8 in 1 turn. So, so yeah, that's a good argument there. So that was a simple one. Now let's talk about when we all play it. Ristic Study. Nate, I'll have you start on that one. This will be our last ban or to be banned card. I believe all three of us are agreement it should be banned.
If you ban one, do you need to ban fish as well?
I don't believe.
I think fish is balanced.
I think fish is balanced as well because of the
Okay.
upkeep to it. But I think between the three of us, I believe, unless Chris might be different here now with that, but I believe it should be banned. So, but Nate, take us away. Give us a sales pitch, unless I'm wrong. Tell me that it should not be banned, I guess.
No, ban Ristic Study.
Oh, okay.
No, I am so sick of that card. I understand why we all play it. I understand that it is a necessary evil because it can draw a lot of cards. 100%. Of course you're going to play it. Because you're either A, putting attacks on every single one of your opponent's spells, or B, you're drawing a bunch of cards. It's a win-win for you. And I don't mean this to be rude to anyone who watches this and maybe have felt like they've done this before, or they just don't think about it. The amount of games I've lost because someone just doesn't care and feeds a Ristic Study is astronomical. And you could say, oh, well, that's your player, that's not Ristic Study, right? But the problem is Ristic Study is in every game you play. If there is a blue player at the pod, chances are that Ristic Study is going to show up.
100%.
Not all, maybe not every game, but in 90% of these games. And it is oppressive. It is annoying, even for us. Even for us, right? The whole, hey, are you going to pay the one thing doesn't bother us nearly as much as casual players. But it is still annoying to keep track of because you're like, okay, Ristic Study trigger on the stack. Oh, you're going to cast a thing? Okay, I'll wait to draw. Okay, now do I do my Enlightened Tutor or do I wait to do it so I can draw the thing I need to win?
Or did you took too long before you asked, so you missed that trigger. And it's like,
yeah, like there's so many talks about Ristic Study when it's on the battlefield. Hey, please don't feed the Ristic Study. Don't advance your game plan because there's a Ristic Study. So then one person says, you know what? I'll agree to that. The next person goes, oh, I'm going to storm and try to win right now. He's going to get 30 cards or I'm going to win. So that's your guys' problem afterwards. And it's just, it just causes so many issues. And I do understand why Chris brought up Mystic Remora when we say that, because I've seen people do the same thing with Mystic Remora, right? But I think with Mystic Remora having that upkeep cost, you have to pay for it to keep it around. You're also taxing yourself. Whereas Ristic Study, once that's down, it's down. Mm-hmm. You're drawing cards or you're taxing your opponents. So if it's me to make more interesting loops, more interesting ways to draw cards outside of this one thing that every single person runs if they're in blue, do some more interesting things and ban this freaking card. If it's me, genuinely.
What about you, Chris? What are you thinking here?
Ban Ristic Study, reprint it, make it not a May. I yield the floor to the senator. That's all I gotta say.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
You know what? Sure.
Yeah. Reprint it. Maybe even put it as 4. Maybe put it as 4. I don't know. And people would still play it, but don't make it a May. Make it a you draw a card. Because there's so many different times, like, cool, I'm not going to pay the 1. You lose the game now. I cast whatever it is with, I think that would be reasonable. And you have a lot of different draw effects currently that are not May abilities.
It's like Polywalk Prodigy.
You have to draw.
Yeah, where you don't get the effect or Esper. If they don't pay you,
Crom.
Draw. It's I think that I agree
Italian.
with you.
Yeah, you have so many different Archivist of Ogma. There's a lot of them that are now around that have been printed in the last couple of years where it's not a you may draw. It's a you draw. Consecrated Sphinx. Cool. You're going to draw. I'm going to cast a bunch of like that's its own broken level of hell that I don't want to get into, but it still exists out there. It's broken. I don't know if it's the number 1 card that I want to be banned, but I definitely think ban it and reprint it with not a May. Yeah, make it a you have to draw.
In casual, you see it all the time. Someone drops a Ristic, and you pay the 1. A is annoying, but it can take someone so far ahead so fast because it also even the worst part is you drop a Ristic sometimes, and Nate's seen this hand. I've had a Ristic, a Mystic, and other card draws, and I've drawn nothing. I've drawn like my lands, and someone's won the game on top of that. Like it happens. Sometimes it doesn't do anything, but most of the time you see a Ristic turn 1, you're like, oh, cool, that's the game we're playing. Is Joe Bob seat 4 just going to feed it? I guess that covers our 2B banned cards. Is there any on the ban list that you wish to be pulled off that you'd like to go over real quick before we kind of we wrap up tonight's episode?
I might get some hate for this, and I actually like just looked at it like right before we started recording this episode.
Okay.
And like I said, I might get flack for this, but I think it would be an interesting card to bring back. I think it's because I love Storm, honestly, which is why I kind of love the idea of this card. But I believe it's Ureo, Soratami Ascendant. So essentially, this is just a 1/1 creature, and then whenever the 4th spell of a turn is played, you flip it into an enchantment, and the enchantment counters the first spell an opponent plays each turn. So it's kind of like a Jin-Gitaxias. However, it's only 2 mana. It's 1 and a blue to put this thing down. So it comes out early, and if you're in a game like I play, right, where I play Storm, yes, I might start going off on turn 2 or 3 in order to cast a bunch of spells, flip this immediately, and now the first thing you guys do is countered. So I don't even have to be concerned about it. But at the same time, Orcish Bowmaster is a thing. So there's a chance that the second spell that's cast come down, nukes this thing immediately. There's tons of bounce spells, and people can be like, I'm just going to cast my Mox Opal, let it get countered, chain a Vapor your enchantment. Right? Or you use some like Soul Partition or something, exile it, right? I think in the CEDH side of things, this would actually make for a really interesting card. I could understand why, and I should say, I say could. This is a very interesting card, but I completely understand why someone would look at it and go, no, never unban that card, right? Because it comes down so early, it can be turned on so quickly in a game of Commander if there's like a couple spells that go back and... But I don't know. I think it'd be kind of fun. I think it'd be kind of fun to just test and see if it's really as oppressive as it kind of sounds, honestly.
I hate to say it, if you're gonna do that one, if that's your one, I gotta say my one, and I hate to say it, no, that should not be unbanned. That if you could do, it'd be so oppressive in the casual mindset that's why. But
right, 100%.
I have to say, Upheaval should be unbanned.
No.
Oh boy.
No.
No.
This is the conversation we're gonna have.
We're gonna end this one, the best one.
You want to ban a low mana Jin-Gitaxias, but you want to bounce everyone's permanents?
That was my joke one. That was my joke.
Reset the game. Reset the game.
No, but I believe, and I think
unban Shahrazad.
I know, right? No, but no, mine. It's got to be Primeval Titan. The way the game went with the ramp spells, the way pull works, Primeval Titan, yes, you could cheat it out turn 2, turn 3, but so we can cheat out Ulamog. We can cheat out a lot of things that way. There's a lot of broken things we cheat out. How many times do you see a Tali come out turn 2 in CDH? It's a 7-drop commander, you know what I mean? But I think Primeval Titan should be unbanned. And I think it's kind of the same way with you. Is with your card, the way the mindset of the game is, well, yeah, we as CDH players would play with it, but I think as a whole EDH community, Primal Titan's just going to be a strong 6-mana drop ramp spell. I think it's going to be shoehorned in a lot of decks the first 6 months. Every green deck's going to run it, but I think after that 6 months, you're only going to see it in the landfall decks, in those decks that want that land thing. But we might see it in CDH more often because it's a cheat land, you know what I mean? But that's my opinion. Chris, what do you think?
Primeval Titan is one of my 5 cards that I want to unban as well.
Okay. Sweet. There we go. Yeah.
They come in tapped. I get that they would be really oppressive because, once again, in casual, right? If it was only CDH, it would be one thing. But in casual, cool, it comes in. You go to your next turn, it's a 6/6 trampler, it's swinging in, it's dealing damage, and it's every turn, it's thinning your deck. And it's like, this is oppressive. In CDH, we'd find a way to activate it maybe twice or something like that, give it haste whenever it comes down, which some enablers have come down. But yeah, Primeval Titan, it's just a 6/6, nothing crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be a little impressive, but so is Kodama. I hate to say it, 6 or 7 drop Kodama from Kaldheim is oppressive. I'm sorry, I quail at every upkeep. You am I wrong,
Well,
Nate?
no. You're
Oh, okay.
100% right. I just think at this point there are just so many stronger things to cheat out early on in a game. I do understand its power. I do understand that it goes and grabs any 2 lands, right? So for instance, if this was used in a CEDH game, right? Maybe we start using copy lands because Primeval Titan's around, and we cheat it out before our turn, and we get a Talon Gates and a land that copies the Talon Gates, and we phase out the Drannith Magistrate and the other thing that's stopping us, right? Like, sure, but is that really what we want to cheat out?
Mhm.
Instead, we could shallow grave out a Hoarding Broodlord and just win the game. Or we could cheat out a Razaketh and just start sacking our things to tutor up cards, or we just have so many more powerful pieces now that this doesn't really feel like it compares anymore. But and again, I could be wrong, right? I am not claiming to be an expert in Magic at all, and I never have been, and I never will. So if there's some busted craziness that we could do even in CEDH, right, that I just never have seen, then please tell me. Like, let me know that I'm completely missing something. I think in a CEDH game and even in an EDH game, yes, this is just going to be a high mana, get some good value lands. But other than that, is it really going to be this mass? I don't know. To me, I agree. I don't know if this should be on the ban list, though.
All right, Chris, give us your last one. What do you think should be unbanned?
My last one. Well, okay. Biorhythm we never talked about, but I think this is an interesting sorcery that should just be a no-brainer to just allow it to happen. Biorhythm, 6/2 green pips, right? It's a sorcery. Each player's life total becomes the number of creatures he or she controls. Cool, I get it. If you're able to Wrath and then play a Dork and then play this spell, that's a lot of mana. Once again, even in EDH, your board goes really, really wide. This isn't going to do enough regular EDH. In CDH, cool. You're playing a control deck. You don't play many creatures. 8 mana? Are you kidding me? Like, no one's casting this, and if they do, GG's. You killed 2 players. Maybe. You know what I mean? Worst case, you don't kill anybody. But then you swing with Trample or Death Touch or whatever. It seems reasonable, but once again, it's so expensive. That's my one. It's like a no-brainer. Should be unbanned. The one that I think is a little bit more spicy, and it doesn't make sense why it's banned either, but I think it's a little bit more spicy, is going to be Library of Alexandria. It is a land that you could go get with Primeval Titan, right? Like we were talking about earlier. But this one, you can tap for a colorless, or if you have exactly 7, not more than 7, exactly 7 cards in hand, you can draw. It's like cool. You get it down turn 1, and that's all you play. Then you go to your next turn, you tap it, and you draw a card. This sees play heavily in like Legacy Cube, so I get that you guys are looking up, what does this card even do? It's expensive. It's like $2,000, at least currently on here. I get that it can draw you a card each turn if you have exactly 7. If you have it in your opening hand, I think this is like an EDH. Okay.
You nailed it on the head. This isn't that broken, but the reason they banned it because it was part of the quote unquote power. It was a power 10 with a power 9, and it's like, okay, why? That's dumb. That's the dumbest reason to ban it.
I wouldn't even classify this card as a power 10.
Definitely
not.
It's considered a power 10. In Legacy
me,
Cubes.
I don't see. Well, okay.
Vintage Cubes.
Here's the thing. In Vintage, sure, right? In a Commander game, that is an ask. You are asking us to have 7 cards in hand. The amount of times that I've had exactly 7 cards in my hand, sure, maybe I have to. Okay, I could understand, right? If you're in a game where, like, say I'm playing Tameshi, right, and all I'm doing is drawing card after card after card, and then I always have my Library of Alexandria up because I'm like, okay, I'm going to discard down to hand size and pass my turn, so I always have 1 extra card I can draw, right? That is pretty strong. Sure, that is very strong. But am I always drawing that many cards? Am I always going to be at 7? No. Sometimes I'm at 5, sometimes I'm at 4. Sometimes we've had a counter war and I have to pray that I build back up.
No, absolutely.
I do understand why it's very strong to print draw a card on a land that doesn't require you to do anything other than have 7 cards.
Yep.
Right? Because you could respond after you've drawn some cards from a Rhystic Study or a Mystic Remora to just be like, I'm at 7 right now. Before this Rhystic Study happens, I'm going to tap my library, draw an extra card, and then Rhystic Study, draw another card. Right? I could see how that would be very, very strong. So in that sense, maybe it should just stay banned. But to call it a power 10, that's I don't know. I don't know if I would, if it's me, I don't know if I classify it that high. But
Okay.
maybe that's me.
I agree. I believe it should be unbanned. I think that it should be. It would be. It would be a utility land. It hits an ass to have 7 cards in hand. Like, how many times does that actually happen? Like, how many times do you Jessica Will do you get more than 5 mana? Normally it's like, oh, cards in hand, cards in hand. Oh, 4, 4, 3, 2. Like, oh, okay. I get a net positive 2 mana.
Yeah.
I just honestly think that if I'm not in blue, I wouldn't play the land.
No, that's
Because I wouldn't be guaranteed that I'd be at 7 at any given point.
and that I agree with. I agree with you on that one. But is there any other cards?
Ban Rhystic, bring this back.
But EDH players would need to spend $2,000, and I don't know how much of an edge this gives someone to spend $2,000 and to hold $2,000 if they're that sweaty on an EDH table to spend $2,000. Good job, but I don't think it makes enough of a difference even on an EDH pod.
A true EDH player, not true, a casual EDH player. Oh, that $2,000 card that makes their deck so powerful. What? My deck is my wing con is Triskaphile, whatever. Have the 13 cards.
Triskaidectaphile?
Yeah, whatever. Have 13 cards in hand. But we've kind of gone over this, you guys. The banning and restriction announcement got us thinking, got us brewing. Our original ban back in September definitely got us thinking and pondering what's going on. But Nate, I want to thank you for coming on and talking about bans and restrictions with us. It's always a pleasure to have you on. I really enjoy having you with us. Chris, it's always a pleasure. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you had a blast out in Chicago. Talking about going out places, me and Nate, we'll be heading out to Denver for Snowy Summit 2, February 1st. Hopefully to see see anybody out there. If you watch the show or listen to it, talk to us, say hey, what's up. We should hopefully have some stickers. Surprise, guys. I should have stickers. Again, you guys, let us know what you think down below. Let us know what you think of bans and restrictions and what cards you believe should be unbanned or banned. But again, remember, stay confident but not condescending. We'll see you guys next time.